Hello and welcome to Ensemble Conversations with me, Mark Kilmurry. This morning we have a wonderful guest, actor and director, Mitchell Butel, who's in the State Theatre over there in Adelaide. Hello, Mitchell, how are you?
Hi, Mark. Good morning to you. Lovely to be here.
Yeah, thank you so much for talking to us this morning. I know how busy you are and how busy it's now getting as we're all cranking up to opening doors, although your doors are open, you were saying. So you had good news at 50%.
Yeah, so we're doing a play called Ripcord by David Lindsay-Abaire, who wrote Rabbit Hole and Good
Yes.
People that the Ensemble's done.
Yes.
And we had two previews at 50%. Then because of the COVID cluster here, we went to 74 people and a 600-seat theatre, which was a bit boring. But we're, as of 2 days ago, back to 50%, to 280, which is great. And it's a beautiful, funny play, and the wonderful cast is now getting the kind of laughs and love that they deserve. So it's a very happy time.
Yeah, he's a lovely writer, fantastic. I remember doing Rabbit Hole with the lovely Georgie Parker, and it's just beautiful, beautiful writing. And
I love that play.
Ripcord's a terrific piece.
Actually, I think you also did Kimbo. That was David Lindsay-Abaire too. I think you've done 3 at Ensemble. Yeah.
Yes, fantastic piece too. And it must have been a little bit nightmarish going from 50% down and juggling. How are you managing all of that?
It's been quite a ride. I mean, our chief financial officer said the other day, cancelling 5 shows was stressful enough, but this kind of unknowability about this one has been next level kind of stressful. But look, I mean, I think this year's taught everyone, not just in theatre but in the world, that we have to be, what are the words, agile and pivot and be ready for change constantly and be constantly adaptable. So, and we're in such a privileged position in Australia in terms of health, even, notwithstanding these kind of clusters, and that, the fact that we can do theatre is incredible in a Western world where it's not happening at the moment. So it's we're very, very lucky.
Yes, in the UK, friends of mine and family are amazed that I can go out and go to restaurants or go to the pub or go to even now to the theatre. They can't get over that because they're in a severe lockdown again. So we are very lucky here. Your season, Mitchell, has a great mixture of Australian work. It's changing for the better for that, because if you think of 10, 15 years ago, there seemed to be a lot of work from overseas with the odd Australian play. I feel that's changing more and more, and people are commissioning, particularly theatres commissioning new work. I think it's all for the better.
I agree. I mean, I like. I think I have similar tastes to you, Mark, at the Ensemble. Like, I love contemporary international writing, particularly American writing. But I like what you're doing. I think it's great to kind of do a play like Ripcord or Rabbit Hole or Good People, but ultimately, I think, and they're great. Audiences love them, but it's so important for theatre companies to give space to new voices and Australian voices, but particularly, not just the Australian voice, that our kind of white Australian voices, but to kind of diverse voices as well. And that's certainly happening at the Ensemble, and great First Nations voices like your production of Wesley's production of Black Cockatoo. And I think that's, and audiences that whereas that used to be a box office wise, you either did your Williamson or your international hit. Now I think there's a real hunger for Australian work in a way that there hasn't been perhaps 10 years ago, which is wonderful. And with us too, interestingly, since I've been in Adelaide since beginning of 2019 now, and the desire for local stories is really strong here too. Like, people want to hear South Australian stories, and so that's reflected in our season and a lot of the commissions going forward. So it's a fruitful time for things to be happening.
It is, yes, I saw that. That's really a fantastic thing too that you're doing, and also for you, you're directing 2 or 3 a season. How's that with the juggling of a full-time job and then suddenly you're in the rehearsal room?
Yeah, well, actually, my first year I was in Dance Nation, which is directed by Mark Savage, and I'm directing Ripcord. Next year, I'm only directing 1 actually, because we've flipped, we've flipped 3 shows from 2020 into 2021. And so with that, I kind of went, you know what, it's fine if I'll just direct 1, because the running the company is kind of enough.
Yes.
And So even though it's kind of a light on year for me next in 2021, but this year's been so full on our, you know, with the 2 shows and then running a company. And so I was like, that's fine. I'll come back and do my party pieces the year after that one. But I'm doing a great play next year called Hibernation by Australian playwright who now lives in South Australia, Finnegan Crookemeyer, which is a massive, epic, diasporic kind of take on climate change set in 2030, which is amazing. So that'll keep me busy, I think.
That will keep you busy. Yes, it's interesting. There was an a director recently said to me, why are you giving this classic away? It's quite it's sort of on the list, and it's in the territory of Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. You know, why don't you direct it? And I said, because I simply won't have time to do it justice, because as you know, running the company, all the other things that go with it, you know, with talking about marketing or whatever it might be, you might be talking about plus then the creative aspect. You just think it's nice to actually give something like that away to a director, you know, who do a really, really good job. Because you just haven't got that mental energy sometimes.
That's right. Actually, and oddly enough, we are doing Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf next year.
Oh, right.
But we wrote to the Albie estate and said we'd really love to do a First Nations version of it. Would that be possible?
Fantastic.
And so Margaret Harvey, fantastic Torres Strait Island director, who's worked a lot in Malthouse and Belvoir, is directing it. And the cast is not quite locked in yet. It's all on offer, and we're waiting for people to lock in. But yeah, we wanted to take because I think it's important. Our audiences love classics as well, but like we did Gaslight last year, we like to take classics and not screw them, but like kind of twist them in a way that still honours the intent of the work, but hopefully cracks it open so it resonates with modern audiences. So that's that's an exciting.
Fantastic. That's such a great, fantastic idea. Borders are open, so I hope you had to come over and
yes, come on down.
Mitchell, you were one of the busiest actors in the world, and then suddenly you got a full-time job. I think your agents must have been putting their hair out, mustn't they? How did that? I mean, you were ready for it, I think, to direct, and I know you directed for us, and many times I've seen your work as a director. But as an actor, was it very difficult to sort of put that aside for a while?
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, the grass is always greener, isn't it? So, like, I'll be singing around in the shower going, I'd love to get back on stage and do that. Yeah, but look, it was always something I'd wanted to. I've been an actor for about 30 years and a director for about 10 now. And but the notion of running a company and curating a season of works was really interesting to me because, and like you, being an actor, director also, the kind of what you find, I think, when you are directing is that it's not about control. It's totally about facilitation. It's about giving good space to everybody to ensure they can do their best work. And I find that really, really fulfilling. And the kind of curating a season is kind of similar to that because it's about giving people voice and a platform, and I find that really, really satisfying. So much as I love acting, and I know I will, return to it more, hopefully in when this chapter is over, and I'll probably act for the company as well at some point. But no, I really love the change, and I guess I've been, as you say, very lucky in Sydney to do a lot of theatre and a lot of commercial musicals nationally, and I loved it. But I read actually Ben Neutzer in some article was writing 10 things about Sydney theatre, and one of the things he wrote, I think it was in about 2018, was like, you've probably seen Mitchell Butel more than you've seen your family this year. I went, it's time to get off the stage for a little while. I mean, it's a very privileged position.
That's very nice. That's a very nice thing. Oh, you thought that was a little criticism there, did you?
I was like, oh God, people are tired of seeing my funny faces.
No, not at all. And also, Mitchell, you're playing those huge roles. Angels of America and Merchant of Venice. You were doing huge roles for quite a while. That must be something that you would miss doing, I presume, and something that you'd like to get back to.
Yeah, I love both of those plays. In particular, Merchant of Venice Shylock was always a dream role for me. I love the role, and there's kind of Jewish kind of ancestry on my dad's side and whatnot. But but I loved that, and that was the big tour for Bell Shakespeare, the 7-monther. So we went all across the country, and
Yeah.
it's great. But it is also, I mean, you would know this being an actor too. It's you when you are performing a big role like that, it pretty much takes everything out of you. Your whole life is dedicated to those 2 or 3 hours, and which is wonderful. But there's also, you kind of get to a point, like I'm 50 now, and you go, oh, there are other things. I think there are other muscles that I want to exercise, as an artist and as a human being, that aren't necessarily exercised by being so inward focused. When you're even though good actors are outward focused because it's all about who you're with, but
I know.
the protection of the body and the voice and the thing, and you have to be very. You have to kind of be very aware of all that stuff. So to kind of put yourself aside for a while and to think about other people is it's been a really wonderful journey. So.
Yes, it can be, absolutely. I think sometimes for me it's a bit like, I'd like to play that role, and then I think, oh, hold on a minute, I can't play that role anymore. It's a little bit late. That's sometimes a little bit of a scary thing. I'm not 35. Don't be silly. I can't play that. But
the good thing with me is because I'm primarily a character actor, and the older I get, the better it gets. Because I never played the young romantic heroes. So when you're a character actor, the older you get, you're, oh, cool, Fagin is looking more possible now. So
that's right. That's right. Yeah, King Lear. King Lear will be there somewhere. Few years, 10 years, whatever.
Yeah.
So there you are in a new job, and then suddenly there's a new pandemic. So what was that like for you? And you'd started a little bit before that, but how did how did you cope with that?
Yeah, look, it was as for you and as for every AD and ED, really full on. So we had a management change at the end of last year. So for the beginning of this year, myself and our business manager, we were also acting as co-executive directors, and so that was happening while I was rehearsing Dance Nation. And then Dance Nation played the Adelaide Festival, got to Belvoir, and then COVID hit. So I was being artistic director, executive director in a play, worldwide pandemic, and I was like, wow, it can't get any more stressful than this.
Yeah.
But thankfully, I hightailed it back to Adelaide, and we're very lucky to have an incredible team at the company, and everyone, and a great board. Everybody kind of hunkered down and went, what do we need to do? What's the best way of keeping the company afloat? We paid all the actors who would have been employed over that period. That was a real priority for us.
Yes.
And then we were like, what can we do during this period? And we collaborated with another theatre company here called Act Now Theatre Company, and with the help of the Arts SA, the kind of state arts agency here, we started work on this very ambitious kind of COVID-friendly digital project called Decameron 2.0, which basically saw 100 new monologues being created by South Australian writers and performed by South Australian actors and directed by South Australian directors, which was great. And so we did 10 episodes of that. So about roughly 9 hours of new material, and each week we pump out one of these episodes, which followed the kind of template of the original Decameron, the 14th century the car show one. So it was great. So we employed all these wonderful people. We was all filmed at our rehearsal studios, which is quite a weird industrial site. And so we found a way to keep artists employed. We brought a whole lot of new artists into the company, and also kept our audiences engaged during that time too. So it was turned out to be a really, in the midst of all that challenge, a really, really wonderful thing for the company, because it's suddenly opened all these other artistic doors for us. So there was a lot of silver lining for us in the midst of all that.
And particularly digital. I mean, here we are talking with Damn Good, our digital partners, and it's actually opened up those avenues for theatre. And there's obviously now a lot of shows online that we can watch. But that's a great development, I think. That's something that we need to nurture and continue.
Absolutely. I mean, I didn't know what Zoom was before
No,
before the pandemic, and
no.
suddenly it's like I'm a bit of a Luddite, so it's getting all that together is pretty cool. But yeah, but I certainly think, and there's been a lot of in theatre, a lot of movement towards the intersection of technology and text. Certainly in Kip Williams' work, that's happening a lot at STC, and I certainly think it makes audiences more up for kind of interesting forms of telling theatre in different ways. I mean, at the end of the day, I don't think a play on Zoom is nearly as good as being in a theatre, because I think there's something about shared air and shared experience that
Yes.
is crucial, and also something about the liveness and ephemerality of what you're doing, which is what theatre is. So that's never going to be replaced. But it's been good that people can, connect with each other and connect with new ways of watching things during this time. So
I also
interesting day.
Yeah, it's fantastic, and I also think that the idea of the community rallying around, that was very positive. That each theatre were talking to other theatres, other artistic directors. We were sharing stories. We were saying, "How are you guys going?" I was thinking we need to keep doing that, because that isn't always the case. Sometimes, just because of the way we have to run a theatre, it's so busy, we're in our own world a little bit. But that sharing,
Yeah,
I thought, was wonderful, that we can reach out to each other and say, "Look, we're all in the same boat, and here we are. And how are you going?"
that's great to hear. Yeah, like, and that collegiality, like with the state theatre companies, there's a thing called the Confederation of State Theatres. So normally that meets quarterly to kind of talk about what are you guys doing industrially or programming wise or
Mm,
blah blah blah. But we actually, your good friend of mine, Patrick McIntyre, when we had the
yes.
cast meeting in during the Adelaide Festival in before COVID hit, Patrick literally said, "So what's this COVID thing that's happening? I mean, what do we think about that? Or do we need to do anything that, it's in China?" And he said, "Because if this happens, we're screwed, aren't we?" And we were all like, "Ha ha ha, let's have a Negroni and go and see a
Yeah.
show."
Yeah.
And then literally a month later,
There you were.
we were screwed.
Yeah.
But we've been meeting weekly as instead of quarterly, which has been so fantastic, just
Yep.
on Zoom and stuff. And but and I must, and shout out to Sarah Neal from Malthouse, who's been it's a rotating chair each year. But just to share stories with other theatre companies, like how you're going and
Yeah.
what's happening, and
Yeah.
it's been really, really positive, I think. And we're even kind of in this new COVID normal, we're still meeting weekly to talk about what's going on and about other kind of issues about how we move forward as a sector, and a lot of shared programming information too. I mean, there was always, a great collegiality there anyway, I think, but it's
Mm,
been really wonderful that sharing of best practice and knowledge. So yeah, a lot of great stuff has come out of this, I think.
absolutely. I
Yeah.
agree. It's very good to see. How has it changed us, do you think, Mitchell, for the future?
Wow, that's a big existential question, isn't it?
It is.
I look, I what I've the thing about COVID, I think that's most interesting is that I think there's been incredible goodwill and generosity and kindness that has come out of this. Like,
Yes.
people in supermarkets, like respecting other people's space, or hand sanitizing, or co- covering their mouths when they're coughing, or
Mm,
I just think there's so much civility that has come out of this, which I think will impact us forward. I mean, the absence of, I like shaking hands and I like hugging people, and
mm,
and I miss that. And I think that's weird, like the whole, the shoulder,
yeah.
the elbow thing you have to do. Sorry. So our kind of our the kind of humanity of who we are has been questioned, and that'll be interesting. But I think
Mm,
like, it's even weird to watch theatre where there's a lot of intimacy, and like with Gaslight, which involved, people touching and whatnot. It's kind of strange to watch people who are not partners or family in the act of some kind of intimacy. And that's one of the reasons, I think, why we go to the theatre, because we want to see our emotional lives played out, and
mm,
kind of we want other people to go through trauma on our behalf so we can learn from them.
yeah.
But so yeah, I it's a really interesting time because of COVID.
It is strange. We're watching theatre online filmed the year before and seeing people sitting next to each other. And I remember thinking, I'd never think that that would look strange.
Exactly.
And there it is. It looks like a sci-fi movie.
Yeah. Or seeing like a big musical with people like throwing each other in the air and stuff, and you go, oh yeah, that's touch, you know. So it's very, very strange. But yeah, I do think having to re-question so much about this year and about the way we live, and you know, and in terms of consumption too. I mean, the fact that there's been they think globally a 7% drop in carbon emissions as a result of people kind of not going anywhere. That's that relative to 2019. That's huge. Like the fact that maybe there's something about slowing down that is actually useful to the planet as well. So that's another huge question. Yeah.
Yes, indeed, and the fact that climate change now is in the news and on politicians' desks in terms of wanting to do something about it. I think that shake-up and shock has really helped move that forward. Not that anybody would wish a pandemic on anybody, but at least there'll be some good things coming out of it. That's what we hope.
And interestingly, sorry, to interrupt you. A play we're doing next year, Hibernation, that one is talking to Kilmurry. He pitched this before COVID, and the concept is about a scientist comes up with set in 2030 with an idea to hibernate the entire planet for a year, humanity, to see what impact it has on natural regeneration during that time. And this is all before COVID. I'm like, I love this idea. Keep going with this. And then COVID started to happen, you know, people stopping and, you know, the butterflies coming back to Wuhan. And I said, are you the person who did all this funky stuff? Did you cause COVID? Like,
yeah, that's right.
The play is so bizarrely prescient now. So
a commission the commission that caused COVID. That's there's a story in that too. I was going to say, Mitchell, what is the future that you can talk about? Have you got other things coming up that you can mention now, or is it sort of you're just planning the next 2 to 3 years?
Yeah, we've launched our 2021 season. I think normally you're the first company to launch, Mark, always. So, but I think
we did.
I think bizarrely we were one of the first this year. So which was great. We've gone with a full program of 8 shows. We've budgeted at 50% in case the COVID thing continues, but hopefully there'll be an upswing there. But yeah, some really exciting works. It's rated Virginia Wolf, Hibernation, great new South Australian play Euphoria. We're bringing Jonathan Biggins over to do Gospel According to Paul.
Yes, I saw that. Sounds great.
Collaborating with Slingsby, a great family theatre company, on a thing called The Boy Who Talked to Dogs, which is based on Martin McKenna, who lives in Nimbin, who's a dog whisperer, which is beautiful. And a very funny play called Eureka Day at the end of the year about pandemics set in a school. And we're also doing a play that premiered with you called The Appleton Ladies Potato Race in a new production here, which we're very excited about. So
very great piece.
So lots of great things on the horizon. We're really lucky. Yeah.
And
the 7 stages of grieving, of course.
Of course, yes, at the end, yes, that's great.
Yes.
That's which is a wonderful piece too. Are you thinking of treading the boards again soon in a couple of years after, or are you still sort of toying with that idea?
Yeah, look, there is a particular show I do want to perform in, but I think we'll flip that to 2022. So
it's tricky, isn't it? Because you have to be right for it. I find as an artistic director, and the responsibility of that is you're not taking the best role of the season. You feel like you have to align yourself with whatever that role is, rather than you go, I'll do that. It's more because it's something's come from you or from somebody else, and you go, okay, yeah, we can make that work.
That's right. Yeah. Well, there was another artistic director suggested a show for me to be in a couple of years ago, and that it didn't happen as a result of a few things. And anyway, that particular show, I'm hoping that will eventually land somewhere. I'm like, well, it's not my idea. Someone else suggested it.
Yeah, well, good. Well, you're okay then. That's brilliant. It'd be lovely seeing you back on stage too, Mitchell, because we miss you being on stage, I must say.
Oh, thank you.
And lovely to talk to you too, and well done with the new season and with all the great work that you're doing there. It looks really impressive and really exciting, and I really would like to come across. So I'll get on a plane when they're flying, or drive across even.
Well, you're a wonderful company. Like, I had the best time directing Marjorie Prime for the Ensemble, and it was, I'd directed mostly musical theatre stuff before I directed for you, and it was a real watershed moment for me with that beautiful play, and the beautiful cast. There we are, Lucy Bell and Maggie Denson, Jake Spear there. It was,
there we are. It was a gorgeous production.
And beautiful Richard Sydenham and Simon Greer, your wonderful production manager who designed that incredible set. It was a real, I love working the ensemble. Like, your audience is so kind of attuned and present, but also there's something about where you're located and rehearsing in that beautiful room by the harbour. It's a real kind of crucible activity, and you kind of, even though you're in the city, you're kind of away from the world, and you can focus on the art there. And so I thank you for really kind of helping to turn my career around too into new avenues. Very lovely of you.
Well, thank you. But no, look, I think you were destined to do it anyway. But thank you. Yeah, it was great. And it was great having you at our space briefly. Maybe we'll get you back sometime.
I love that.
We'll do something together. And our audiences, yes, I mean, look, the support has been fantastic during this pandemic. The people are donating and supporting us. And you feel, as you would, that the theatre belongs to the community. And the community is such a massive part of what you do. And it's been really heartwarming. Yeah.
And I mean, you might find this too, like having taken over from Sandra and been there quite a while yourself. Like, it's ultimately, you realise these companies are not about you. They're about, like, we had a lunch last year for subscribers who've been here for 30 years or more, and you realise, oh, it's their company. Like, they're the ones who are the gatekeepers of what they've enjoyed and what's been a watershed moments for them. And you're just here for a while to go, I hope I don't bugger it up. Like, I hope I keep serving you, because the company is its own entity, and you're just its servant, which is, I think, a really good thing to learn.
Absolutely. No, it absolutely is, yeah. Thank you, Mitchell. We'll let you go. You've got many things to do. But thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us, and all the best for next year and the year after and the year after and the year after and the year after. And we'll see you in a foyer soon, hopefully.
And I'll be in Sydney in January, so I can't wait to see Kenny. I'm really looking forward
great.
to it.
Well. Fantastic. See you in our foyer. That would be great. We'll have a chat. Thanks, Mitchell. See you soon.
Thank you so much, Mark. All the best.
Bye.
Have a great day.
Thank you for watching and for all your support, and keep safe. We've got some more guests coming up. Next year, we're connecting the guests to the theatre that we'll be rehearsing and doing in that period of time, because we're all back and the doors are open. But you'll hear more about that coming up in the next few episodes. So thank you for watching. Thank you for being there. See you soon. Bye.